The FBI places a secret agent disguised as a gambling friend of an associate into the secret card games and gambling operations ran by Johnny Apes Montelone of the near Southside 26th and Chinatown crew. Nickname: Johnny Apes. The agent would pinpoint the area where the underworld gambling would take place on June 9, 94. The FBI would write up a report on this matter on August 11, 94 concerning the casino-style illegal crap game. Federal search warrants for the illegal games would be obtained and a raid would be conducted in order to grab records and seize hard cash. Informants wouldn't be as helpful as the FBI originally thought. Also, the Chicago mob would cut off the associate and his gambling friend, and they would be completely cut off from future games. The original purpose of the investigation was to locate the mob-controlled casino-style crap game. They would close the status of the investigation at one point. Informants would confirm that Johnny Apes was controlling the combined Cicero and 26th and Chinatown crews. Extra writer's notes: Joe Ferriola and Rocky Infalis ran the Cicero crew. Also, Angelo LaPietra, Jimmy LaPietra, and Frank Calabrese Sr. were all once skippers of the notorious 26th and Chinatown crew, and Angelo also played huge role in the Cicero crew's come-up and would run the Chinatown crew with his brother Jimmy the Lapper. An informant told the FBI that Joseph Shorty LaMantia, a longtime member, had been observed regularly active around the Chinatown crew, which had confirmed the FBI's suspicion about Shorty being an official member of the 26th and Chinatown crew. The FBI stated the Chinatown crew had been combined with the Cicero crew, which controlled Taylor Street for years, under the leadership of Johnny Apes Montelone, who also said to be a front boss for Elmwood Park boss and boss of the outfit Johnny Bananas DeFranzo. In my opinion, it was more Marco D'Amico, Joe the Builder, and Joey the Clown Lombardo and Greedy Pete DeFranzo, who were always the front bosses, but Apes perhaps could have been at one point in time, like Gus Alex, for example. Yes, you heard right. Believe it or not, the Italian-American Chicago outfit would put Gus Alex in charge as a front boss for John DeFranzo, as the heat was on the leaders like Johnny Bananas and Greedy Pete and Joey Doves Iappa, as well as Big Tuna and top street boss Joe Lombardo. But Johnny Apes did have ties to Johnny Bananas' Elmwood Park crew. The story of Johnny Apes and Johnny Bananas is a fascinating one. The FBI learned that Johnny Apes was eating at Angel's in Elmwood Park on the near west side on North Harlem Avenue. EP is home to the DeFranzo crew, which originally was the Messino and Gags gang. Under the leadership of Willie Messino and Joe Gagliano and Jack Cerrone. The informant would tell the FBI that Johnny Apes was running the Chinatown crew, Cicero crew, and the Taylor Street crew. He was reportedly picked as front boss for being one of the last old-timers left, and he was trusted and had participated in several mob murders, proving his loyalty to the mob. He had also served time in prison for the Chicago mob without talking or flipping, and was well known to other mobsters and fellow hoods and top mob members in federal prison. He had close ties to Cicero crew member Louis Tomatoes Marino. He was also very close to Angelo LaPietra and his brother Jimmy LaPietra, who returned and were put in charge of the Chinatown crew. Angelo LaPietra was convicted in Kansas City on racketeering charges in connection with the Las Vegas skimming case. Eventually was released with his brother Jimmy LaPietra running the crew for his brother Angelo. Jimmy LaPietra would run the crew, while Angelo was in prison and until his death in the year of 1993. With Jimmy the Lapper LaPietra now gone, Angelo would run his crew as he did before prior to his brother taking over the crew and would bump Frank Calabrese Sr. up in position to acting skipper. Source disclosed that Johnny Apes, boss of the Cicero crew of Chicago LCN, is a longtime lieutenant to Joe Ferriola and Rocky Infeliz, who was confined in prison. The informant stated that with recent arrests and indictments and pending trials, both the Cicero and Chinatown crew have been dismantled, and Johnny Apes is the only old-timer with enough stature to assume control. LaPietra placed Montelone, a longtime friend, in control of both crews while he was imprisoned till his late return. Joey Iappa, Jack Cerrone, and Angelo LaPietra were sent to prison over the Vegas scam and would all eventually be released. Jack and Joey would die shortly after being finally released. It was obvious at Jimmy the Lapper LaPietra's funeral that Johnny Apes Montelone had assumed much power based on the fact that everyone was gathered around Johnny Apes. An informant would tell the FBI that James "Poker" DeForte had also been seen with the crew. This would all take place at the funeral of Jimmy LaPietra, also known as the Lapper. Jimmy was a legitimate tough guy and was known as a top enforcer, street boss, and street brawler. Both Angelo and his brother Jimmy are no one you want to toy with, both very serious gangsters. The FBI's informant would say that Chicago has not made a member in a long time, but James "Poker" DeForte was recently made and would eventually take the place of Johnny Apes in the syndicate's hierarchy. James DeForte is also known as Goggles and Poker. Big John Stoop Fecarata ordered killed over the botched burial of the Spilotro brothers, killed by his best friend in the life Nick Calabrese, who turned informant over the botched hit on John Fecarata after Nick dropped a glove behind with his blood/DNA on it. The feds would track him down and threaten Nick with the death sentence/lethal injection. Nick in turn would flip on the mob. After the arrest of Shorty LaMontia, it would throw the whole Chinatown crew into a disarray. Nick would also flip on his best friend Jimmy Marcello and his own brother and fellow crew member Frank Calabrese Sr. His son Frank Calabrese Jr. would conspire with his uncle Nick against the father and brother, with them saving their own skin and Frank going to prison and dying there while serving his time. He passed away on Christmas Day. Nick would give up information on Frank Calabrese Sr. killing the most hated mobster of all time, and the guy everyone couldn't stand, scumbag Butch Petrocelli. The worst backstabber in the outfit finally got a taste of his own medicine, with Frank Sr. totally devouring his victim Butch Petrocelli, an enemy of many made men alike. Just about everyone wanted to see Butch dead. He even turned on his own friends, but didn't think those were dear pals of Frank's. That would be the end of Two-Face Butch Petrocelli. He was a double-crossing no-good hood that was skimming the outfit. Never a good idea to rob the mob, and he paid for it with his life. Nick Calabrese, Frank's brother, ratted and said that Butch Petrocelli of 342 Forest Avenue was tortured and murdered in January in 1981. At the time, Petrocelli was reporting to Ferriola as a lieutenant. He was tougher than most guys, but he met his match with one of the toughest men in the outfit. You didn't want Frank Calabrese Sr. coming after you. Frank was an unstoppable force and a force to be reckoned with. He was skilled at his job as top hitman, great enforcer, and strong skipper. Originally, with him being from Elmwood Park, he wanted to be a part of John DeFranzo and Jack Cerrone's Elmwood Park crew, but also reached out to Frank Collada in hopes to be a part of Spilotro's crew. He would end up working solo as a hitman till Angelo would take notice and told Frank if he was going to be doing that type of work, then he was going to be with him from now on. Nick Calabrese, while flipping to the government, said they cut Butch's throat. His feet and legs had been duct taped and bound together and was placed inside of a sleeping bag in the back seat of a vehicle. They also put surgical tape over his mouth and over his nose, and his face had been badly burned. Nick Calabrese would also rat and say they gunned down a man in Elmwood Park on North and Harlem Avenue while trying to enter his vehicle, also named Nick, who owned a coffee house in the area. Nick said they shot him with shotguns and pistols. The mission of the Chicago OCP organized crime program was eliminate LCN groups and other organized crime groups which pose a significant threat to the citizens of Chicago. The mission of Squad 6C is to build a RICO case against Johnny Apes Montelone. Squad 6C has investigative responsibility for the Cicero crew. The Crap Game is a regular part of the crew's activities combined with the Chinatown crew and Taylor Street crew. Till next time on True Gangsters of Yesterday, I hope everyone enjoyed this documentary. More content on the way. Thank you for all the support. If you would like to donate to channel, click the super thanks icon under this video and make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe and smack that bell like a true gangster to stay up to date with new notifications. You can also find the Cash App link to donate in my channel's bio section. All donations to the channel are very appreciated. Make sure to tell a friend, family member, or co-worker about the channel True Gangsters of Yesterday.